that has 4 drinks in it, and then I would have had to leave somebody out. I feel bad about that.
Action.
Well, there's 4 across the front. There's 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, really? You're right. I don't think Wade ever touches this stuff. So. He does. He just doesn't tell us about it.
Okay.
All right. Are we good to go?
Yeah, that's right.
All right, everybody. Welcome aboard tonight. We're here at the Town Poolesville Commissioners Meeting for July 15th, and I said the 17th in my email earlier today, but I fixed it because people reached out. We're here on July 15th. You're at the Town of Poolesville's Commissioner Meeting. Here behind the desk tonight is we have town staff, and of course Ed and Sarah are here. I know Martin is on vacation, and I believe Jeff is on vacation too. We tried to reach him, and I think he's on vacation too. So that's okay. We can do business with just the 3 of us tonight and town staff here as well. So before we get started, Ed, if you don't mind, could you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Sure. All right, here we go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Awesome. Thank you. Love being off to a good start like that. All right, so well, since we have a kind of a truncated commissioner's report night tonight, this should be actually pretty quick between the members that are here. So, and thanks for that, Niles. I appreciate that. Ed and Sarah, do you guys want to tag team it up for the projects that you work on together, or tell us what you got?
Well,
Ed, do you want us to get started?
All right. I'll start with Sustainable Poolesville.
I'm just gathering my thoughts.
And then
That's right, gather 'em.
We'll tag team on fair access.
Great.
But with Sustainable Poolesville, we're moving right along. I believe we'll have some open slots to bring on some more members for Sustainable Poolesville. Let's see here. In terms of, there's not a lot of new things that have been happening. Don should have submitted the paperwork.
Yeah, I have the paperwork. I'm working on getting all the data together that is required. So we have to get stuff on our vehicles, on our energy usage. Now that I have some of that, I'll be completing that.
Okay, and that paperwork, for those of you who are listening, that paperwork is, we apply for, you see here, the Sustainable Maryland certification. And so this year, we're going for the silver level. And so this the things that we do to promote sustainability throughout Poolesville. So we had a report that was put together. Niles is putting the finishing touches on that, and that will get submitted to the state, and then it'll be evaluated, and then we'll find out if we have got recertified at the next level up. Some of the other things are still happening. We have our Pick It Up Poolesville committee. They've done a couple of cleanups within the last month. They'll continue to do some more of that. That's going well. Students are able to earn student service learning hours, so that's a plus for them. And then we're still...
The reasons that we had our testimony.
I talked to her about what the next step is. She said, you need to get this done quickly. If you do, it'll send a signal to the council that this project can be ready to get done faster. So they're trying to help us.
Good.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, you're right. And Link, and Marilyn said the same thing too, that they want a reason to champion us on this thing. And so then she's gotten that indication. That's come from across the board, from rec, from everybody. So,
well, with that being said, I think that when we have the breakfast, it's important to highlight some of those things, that progress that we're making to be ready ahead of time. Because we'll have quite a the players there at the breakfast.
Give our champion of the Western County Award to Greg Assant. Is that what you're saying? Or just go right off the bat, hand it over. Maybe create several awards.
We'll look at everybody and then we'll decide. But while I do have the mic, I want to add one thing that was discussed at our last Fair Access meeting. John Waltz, who attended the meeting, he had asked, what could we do as a town to help families who might not have air conditioning. He talked about just cooling centers, like sites. And, so that's something I said I'd bring up at our meeting here, not for a decision to be made today, but just to put it on the radar, to think about if we do have families in town who don't have AC, especially on these really hot days, especially some of our seniors, is there a place where they could come and cool off for a little while?
And he did cite, he was also talking about someone who was
Who was homeless?
who was homeless on the trail. But he cited, McDonald's and the library being kind of the
The go-to
current
places.
go-to places. I think the library is a fantastic choice. But I was wondering, in terms of emergency preparedness, I know that is something that
So
you've
that's
all
exactly
been
what I was
focusing
gonna-
on, like
exactly what I was
what,
gonna talk about. So we've had several meetings with the counties over the several years about using either elementary school or the high school. And we even put in funding and signed off on to try to get a large generator there for a heating and cooling center. I know years ago when we had a ice storm in the winter, the power was out for 3 or 4 days. And they did open the elementary school and let people go in there as a warming center. And they used it for a staging center also for Potomac Edison folks. So that discussion is ongoing.
And I was just thinking about when we were very fortunate not to have that tornado do more damage than what it could have done. And I think about families who could have been displaced, and when that need for immediate emergency care locally, just going back and revisiting some of our emergency preparedness plans to work with some of the local sites like the high school or the elementary school. And then when we think about the community center, that's another benefit to the region, not just Poolesville, but to the region.
Yep.
So, all right.
Okay, yeah, good. We talked a little bit more about the pool bubble too, and that was with Marilyn, and also hung out with David Frazier Dago the other day. Of course, it's always a good excuse for a motorcycle ride. He's up for it all the time, so even in the heat, I kind of wanted to turn him down for the first time the other day, but I was like, nope, I'm going to do it. And so we made a field trip out to Brunswick and had a good conversation about a bond bill and how to work, like how they could see a partnership between the state and the county and us. Of course, this is about pool bubble again. David's thing was, get the county to fund it, and I was like, no, this is like a capital project. This will be you and them, and then a little bit of us. So we talked about that a little bit, but there'll be more to come from everybody that's in this room. We'll have a conversation about this and bring it forward, and they're going to structure it up. He's going to talk to Senator Feldman about what we're going to be looking for in terms of that. And I gave him some of the big round numbers about. And also, too, he's actually really interested. We sat there and did the layout of the pool, showed where the building should be in order to store the bubble, how the bubble can be brought up and brought down, et cetera. Showed him the St. Mary's video. And if we don't hear back from the St. Mary's guy soon, I think we need to make a field trip out there, so.
are the plans so far that you're trying to cover all 3 pools or just the lap pool?
Right, it's basically just a big rectangular bubble, so it only means that you can cover the lap pool.
Only the lap pool.
So, and then, we don't have to go into the whole design of it right now, but
Yeah.
basically what happens, and if you just Google St. Mary's Pool, you can see them doing it. But the way they have it set up is, there's a building, like if you look at the pool, our pool now, we have the main building.
Yeah.
Then it's squared off where the lap pool is.
Yeah.
And essentially, on the other end of the lap pool would be a building that would be built. That would store the bubble as well as some of the infrastructure needed for it.
Okay.
The bubble comes out, it gets laid on that end that's on the far side, and then comes forward, and then closes off right near the bathhouse.
Oh,
And
doesn't
then-
connect to it. Okay.
No, and then they have you have a series of partitions that are like chambers or locks that then you wheel into place, and they are the ones that are the transition points between the building and the bubble.
To maintain the pressure
And to play the
inside.
pressure inside.
Interesting. Okay.
And so we will need to probably go do a field trip. But the guy's been great on the phone, but he's supposed to send us information. He really hasn't done it yet. He is the major domo of it. He's walked, pardon the expression, he's walked St. Mary's through the process twice now. Both with their original bubble, which was a low-tech bubble, and then to the bubble that they have now, which is like space-age material, much lighter, longer, much more durable, and packs smaller.
What are we looking for? Are we going for the prehistoric version or?
Oh, no, we would,
The new space
it's
age
only it would be space age version 2
Okay, good.
at this point. Because their bubble now, the redone bubble that they have is a 2019, and it replaced a 2012 bubble.
Okay.
And the 2019 bubble is supposed to last at least 10 years, if not longer.
Okay.
And they give you a discount when you get your next one. But it is quite a process for the bubble itself and the storage and everything. I mean, my vision has always been the town staff handles, the upload and the download of it and the storage, so we make sure it's done right. But that's still all to be discussed. But I think from what I've heard, and again, I don't need to keep going on and on about this, all the people that are involved love the idea of it. And they love the idea of the three of us working together through this partnership that we've already created through all the projects that we've done already. They love that, they trust us, they want us to be good partners on it. It's really an opportunity where everybody walks away and says, we've got something really cool here. So, and they also like the idea of the disabled, becoming really the Poolesville would be the capital of for the disabled swimmers. And because that is a group that's really displaced right now. I mean, we were talking about it. I was talking about it with David, and the most of the disabled swimming groups, their swimming time is 5:30 a.m. And that is a very, very difficult time, considering that if you have like a long lead time to get ready to go and to go do.
You probably need a caretaker or something.
Caretakers,
Right.
et cetera. So,
Transportation.
yeah. So there's some real pluses there.
That's great. Again, another partner.
Exactly, and
Love that.
right, exactly. So we'll see what happens there.
Do you have any update on the co-op, food co-op, given the disruptive news of our local Harris Teeter likely being sold? I've been getting
Right.
a lot of questions about where we are in that
Right.
process.
So I wish I could say we were further along, but there's a $8 million block sitting out there, and it's kind of waiting. At least on my end, I know Link. I know would like me to move faster on this and probably do some things, but we're kind of like a great idea waiting for other things to happen. And we did reach out actually I reached out to David Trone about becoming potentially a board member. And, when you ask him to be a board member, he knows what that means. And so we're still, trying to find, I want to make sure that we devote the energy the right way to it. We've learned a lot. I don't think the information that we have is bad or will go bad. But
We're trying to get a meeting with Senator Van Hollen.
Okay.
We've got a good contact there now, and she's already gotten back to us and
Yeah.
said she's going to try to set up a meeting. And I think that's where we talk about earmarks like this one.
Okay.
yeah, this is falling into like the earmark
Rural
category.
food desert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got, who is it that we were talking to, Link, that we got some, was it Chris Van Hollen's person that we got a little bit of traction with on that? Yeah.
We had a Zoom call with her, and she was really interested in coming out.
I'm still think we need it. We should do it. I think we have all the pieces in place.
Still kind of feeling around for what the best financing options are.
Yeah, best financing, and I have to admit, I don't want to go into it too deeply, but I'm a little sour on what I originally thought our concept would be, and that is where it would go next to Tractor Supply, and over there. I mean, we really had a battle with when I was helping Top Jim get started in there.
It can't have flaws, so you got to be methodical.
And we're going to be, and I think a co-op too, to that end, a co-op is going to be people that are driving it like our friends at the Lovettsville Co-op. If you talk to them, there isn't a grocer amongst the board, right? And so if they had come to us and just said, we're on board, we want to be a board member and we want to help drive this ship and we want to bring this to Poolesville and we want to work with you and do that, then I think we would be progressing and we'd be looking for aggressive account for how we would do it. And, again, you have to talk about, are you going to do a full bricks and mortar? Or are you going to be a build out inside a place? Lovettsville was delayed for many years as they tried to work through the idea of having it at their old firehouse. And
I mean, you said it took 10 years.
took 10 years. I appreciate you asking. It's not a sore point, but it's just been something that's needs more noodle time and get somebody to help us get on board better. A sign up. Would you guys over here polling on the left side? Would you pay $200 one time only to join a grocery co-op in Poolesville if the prices were competitive and it had town? Okay. You would? Okay.
For the
Would you pay 500?
Yeah,
I think the pledge would be and then you guys, so that all falls into what we're discussing in terms of location, right? The right location with the right financing is what makes the dollars work on the actual gross. 2,000 adults, but let's see, 2,000 adults times 500 million, right? If the landlord down there 10 steps ahead and this right now.
Helping.
Anyway, you guys, thanks for the mission
Yeah.
report.
So the planning, the use chart, and some kind of use, and more about parking requirements of that. So,
About sign- Yes,
Yeah.
they could fully understand the Montgomery County State Town Code. So they first reached out to the county, and the county referred them to the town. And when we reached out to the town told us that there was nothing required for an above-ground pool. And we went ahead and built the pool. As the pool wasn't fenced in. Maybe whoever we asked that day was new or whatever. But all in different years, not all in 2014, they'd all been told that if it was above ground, then nothing was necessary. It has sort of like a don't ask, don't tell policy. As long as there's no complaint filed, they won't feet tall and has a removable ladder. There's nothing else needed. This to me feels a little bit connections to the town hall, or maybe they're just in a better position to read and fully understand the code themselves. So right now, we have a giant pit of sand in the middle of our yard. 10 years ago, with the cost of fencing and the cost of maintaining since there's 3 families being impacted right now that we know of, I'm going to present to you, right? If they've been doing this for at least 10 years, I'm sure there are much, barring will be having to build. Or thank you for your time.
Cool. Good, all good suggestions.
a complaint, and so their pool.
Yes.
And then in the course of that investigation, it was discovered about the neighbors' pools, the 2 neighbors. So it's 3 houses consecutively
On Fletchall.
on Fletch Hall, all on Fletch Hall. Skip, the code enforcement officer, went out there, confirmed that there was no fence, based on the code, and the code actually, there's 2 different sections of the code that refer to pools, and both of them make no distinction between above ground or underground pool, and both of them state that you have to have a fence.
Is this our code or the state?
This is our code. It's also the same way that the county code is written for reference. The state code does have as she said, is correct. It does talk about how if it's at least 48 inches high, as long as it has a detachable fence, that is permissible.
It has a detachable ladder.
Yeah, ladder,
Right,
yeah,
and so
excuse
then
me.
whoever
Yeah.
would be using the pool would not have access to the pool because allegedly at 48 inches is too high for somebody to just crawl in without a ladder.
Correct. And the main concern around this is, a child or a dog or something getting into an unfenced pool. On the basis of that, I issued letters to her and her neighbors, informing them of the different requirements. Of the 3 pools, only one had a pool permit itself. And on that pool permit, it did indicate that they were going to have a surrounding fence. So even from the beginning in that case, they always said that they had a fence. They are ones who have some fencing around it and are working to resolve the gaps around their fence. So there's sort of 3 different conversations and 3 different things in that reference. As to the question of what was said 10 years ago, I obviously wasn't here 10 years ago, so I don't know how that is, but one of the conversations that Wade and I have had on other circumstances related to a pool cover. A resident asked whether a pool cover could suffice for the fencing requirement. The county code specifically does not allow pool covers to substitute for a fence in that scenario. So in that determination, it was following the county that we had to in that scenario. And that person did get a fence for their permit. That was separate, but I just wanted to say that this has been an ongoing conversation. I think that's the main thing. Is there something more specific you wanted from me?
Is there a middle ground on this, on what type of fencing and how, I understand, I get all the background, and the fact is that we are complaint-based, so everybody has kind of scooted past without complaints and been able to have their pools, and including the people that sounds like everybody should have had fences at one point or another, including the people that actually did it with a permit. So that's a promise when you get that permit.
So 60 inches, and there's a variation of ways you can accommodate that by, some people have decks around theirs with, 3-foot railings, and some people just have, there's railings that actually go on an above-ground type pool that will suffice to create the 60-inch barrier, or they'll fence around the whole yard. But really, there's no ability for the commissioners to be able to waive this. This is law.
Right.
And if you did waive it, you would be liable if a child did get into the yard, so you'd create that liability yourself.
Right.
So
Yeah,
it's really
I wasn't going there. I know you're trying to head me off the path, but no, I get it, but I am trying to figure out a way that, to limit the amount of cost they would have. And so are the people that are not permitted, are they going to be having to get permits retroactively?
Correct. So both, and another of her neighbors have both submitted applications for their pools, the ones that didn't have applications previously. And then the one who did have an application put in an application for the fence, to fix the fencing around their pool.
And
So
did
that
we
would
give
be the
them a time
process
limit,
through.
the fenced people that already had a permit? Is there a time?
So I gave them dates to follow up, but obviously, since this discussion was coming before the commissioners, we held off on doing the enforcement until after this discussion.
Okay.
And typically, we do say, they need more time, how much time do you need? And we set a date with them, in mind of.
Yeah.
working
You work
in a
together?
partnership.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like consequently, that's September 30, end of the pool time. Okay, I get it. So, and then, and have you guys tried to figure out a way to, so, yeah, I think it's pretty clear. We're not going to go against what the state law says. We don't have the ability to do that. We're not going to take on that responsibility. Town of Poolesville has a $6 million budget, and the county has a $6 billion budget. So when people get sued, if we get sued, it's very bad. And if the county gets sued, they can probably figure out and right away write it off on their legal fees, whatever. So we're going to stand by what we have in our code. Is there not some way that you guys can inexpensively match that requirement that's been talked about in terms of attaching something to the pool that does not make it that you have to fence your entire yard? Okay, I'll take you over there. Go ahead.
I am Anna's neighbor.
Yes, hi.
I
Yeah.
am one of the in violation.
Yeah, I gotcha. That's fine. Are you the permitted or the non-permitted?
I was the non-permitted.
Okay, so it's 2-1 on the non-permitted versus the permitted.
What you have to understand about our yards,
Yeah.
Fletch Hall, one of the reasons my husband and I bought our house in 2010, so we've been here 24 years. The thing that really drew us to Poolesville was that it wasn't Rockville, it wasn't Silver Spring.
Sure.
We moved over here from the Bay, so we have a wooded backyard, we loved it. We found this beautiful house on Fletch Hall Road that has what I would call a natural green barrier. It went from my house through their yard, through the third neighbor's yard, but also has.
Yes.
They did have.
I know exactly where all you guys live, so I get it. Beautiful spot in Poolesville.
So, when, I honestly believe this comes down to a neighbor dispute. When somebody bought the plot behind their lot, decided to clear it straight up to the property line, including a little bit over.
Mm.
Some of it was my property line, most of it was theirs.
Mm.
Hey, that's no prerogative. We're not here to dispute that. However, we did, once we knew we were in violation, and I did not know that we were, because I used to work for a fencing company in Frederick County, and we did work here in Poolesville.
Mhm.
And any above-ground pool that was 48 inches, which is 4 feet high or below, with a removable ladder, did not need to be fenced in.
Mm-hmm.
We did a fencing project for somebody here in Poolesville. For whatever reason, Poolesville, this was maybe 5 years ago, did require a non-climbable 5-foot tall fence for a 4-foot tall pool.
So, and I don't want to, I
We
don't,
put in our fencing application,
Mhm.
we have this thicket along the back, and now we're being told that that's not an appropriate natural barrier, which
Understood.
is in the code of Poolesville. A natural barrier can take the place of a fence. And being that and when I say thicket, I'm not talking about hedges, I'm talking about mature tree deck. I kids and dogs even to climb into it without a ladder. One, take my pool down, or two, clear the areas after they have their pool. The other neighbor on the other side of them, I didn't even know they had a pool.
Right.
This is how it's.
Yeah, it's not visible.
Portion. We haven't finished it because I don't want to cut the.
So the natural barrier situation is, explain, tell us what we
The
got.
code is very specific in that it has to be a fire.
And our code matches the county code, correct?
Yes, so the county code specifically, the pool is constructed, may be completely enclosed by an approved fence or wall, but it's specifically about an alarm, and then specifically the pool must be equipped with an automatic pool cover. So the delineation in their code. So that has extra.
Right now with these residents is that that you must, you've enjoyed free permit.
So it's even more than that. Now that it's been brought to our attention that we're not enforcing our code, we become a liable party to something if it happens because we're not enforcing our code.
Understood. And then reading back through again, and I just want to make sure this is clear. Is there, and the pool people can tell me too, is there not something that's attachable to a pool that would, mitigate the cost of like having to fence your entire yard? I know that's not what you want, but I'm just trying to figure out like what will work.
No, I used to have an above-ground pool, and there was a railing that I actually purchased, the part of it that went around it and had a deck on the other half of it. So, I mean, there are other ways to accommodate it.
Right.
A deck?
Yeah, I had a deck actually
Building a
built
deck
half of
around?
it. Yep.
I'm not
But
sure
you
how
had
that
the
would be
railing,
cheaper
you're
than-
saying you could not have a deck, you could just have this railing
But there is it's a white metal railing, and it bolts onto the side of it.
Of the above ground pool. And was yours a 48-inch or whatever it was? I don't
I
remember.
think mine was 52. It was a little bit
Yeah.
larger, but.
Right. So I hear you loud and clear, and this has been, you guys, and I feel for you on the privacy part. That's great reason to buy property as far as I'm concerned too. But I don't know what position then, and I get the 3 suggestions, but I'm not really sure how we can change that. I mean, I don't see us, the town, taking on the liability of not agreeing. Like, there are, and this probably foot and mouth disease is happening right now, there are things that we don't necessarily agree with the county on. That there's codes that, that we don't, for one is radon. We don't require our residents to supply a radon test ahead of a house sale. But I think when it comes to a safety item like this, I'm not sure, do we have that leeway, and has this been talked over with Jay? Is there any other direction we can go here?
It is not yet. You have to change the code, which opens it to liabilities. This has actually been in since August 4th, 1980.
Right, I read the code once
Yeah.
we were found in violation, and I noticed that it's been in this way since the 80s, which
Right.
is even more confusing as to why. I mean, 3 families can attest to this. The town directly told us that nothing was needed as long as it was above ground.
I can't imagine that, though. I hear you.
Not only 3 neighbors.
Yeah.
There are many houses in this
Right.
town, and
But
everybody
I don't think that makes it right.
in the same situation.
Yeah.
It means that everybody got the same answer. You don't.
I don't, I have to tell you, our town manager's been here since how long?
Since 2001, I became town manager.
And I know we only had a 1.5 year time without you, and that was,
Yeah, and I put mine up, and I did get a permit for it.
right. But was there been an avenue for anyone at town government to explicitly say to any pool owner, you don't need to do anything with your pool?
Every one of my staff know that it is required. A permit is required.
So I get it by the fact that if no one said anything, or that, the neighbors saw each other and said that there was no, they don't have it, so why should I have it? I get that. But I'm not sure where the cure-all is from the town in terms of trying to make this better, except for, I think we would absolutely love it if you guys would spend the least, do the minimum, and, have something that works for you. I think that's, we almost be happy for you. But I'm not sure that we can just go ahead and say, this is something that we have the power to change and to take on that liability.
So is the town gonna go after every above-ground pool in the town that we have a Google map of, that does not have a proper fence around it? Because one person moved into town and decided that they wanted a fence that they did not want to build, which is what it boils down to.
Understood.
This is a neighbor dispute.
We understand that, and we see that, We hear you loud and clear on that, too. I don't think we have a choice but to say that we're not going to, that, yes, we will pursue. And if there are complaints, we are definitely going to, we will not take action on any complaint that's raised in terms of something like that, especially something safety related. But to answer your question, is that something that we're actually going to go out there and pursue?
We don't go look at people's backyards or things like that, but if a complaint comes in, yes, we do follow up on it, and we're forced to.
Keep going.
Can you explain that if we take the ladder out when we are take the ladder out of the pool, how can it be dangerous and it's against the safety?
I'm not an expert, but
Explanation because there is a rule, so why this rule?
If it meets the 60-inch,
That
yeah.
as long as it's 4 feet below, 40 inches below, you take the ladder out, but you're not.
Guys can chime in if you want, but
So somebody would have to not only trespass on my yard, but break into my shed.
No, I understand completely, right, I understand completely. No, the code's very clear, it has to be 60 inches, the barrier.
So how a kid can climb the 48 inch?
I don't know, my son, he put in a pool, but I know the homeowner's insurance, we're not gonna give him the loan to put the pool in unless he had the proper alarm system in for the ladder and the fence and everything else. So you may wanna check with your homeowner's insurance because you may be in violation of your own policy now,
No,
I don't
our
know.
my homeowner's insurance did contact us regarding this, and what they told us is because it is not a permanent structure, it's something that can be taken down during winter, which a lot of winter months we do take ours down, that we did not need to put a fence in. We were contacted by Erie Insurance about, we have it under our radar that you have an above-ground pool with no fence. Is it permanent? No, you do not have a deck. Once you put a deck around it, it becomes permanent. It is a freestanding pool that has a removable ladder, and our homeowner's insurance was fine with that. We don't have a HOA. I don't know how those would view this. But as far as homeowner's insurance, here in Poolesville, as far as Erie insurance goes, we are fine with our above-ground pool, as long as it's below 4 feet and we take the ladder out when nobody is using it.
So I'm going to throw you guys a bone on this. We're going to talk to our attorney one more time about it and have a very specific discussion about it. If there's, first of all, I can certainly rule out there, we're not going to give any relief. We won't be able to pay. We can't do, I love the thought process behind it, but it's just not going to be up to us to, have to help you, mitigate whether you have a pool or you don't have a pool. We get it. But we will have a firm discussion about where we stand in terms of our code versus the county code versus the state. And we'll get a legal opinion from our attorney on it to see what kind of leeway there would be in liability if we were to try and alter our code to match some other code. But I don't see him doing that, but we will definitely ask him to see what he can do. And I get it on the arbitrariness, again, we're complaint-based right here, right? We don't want to mess it. Wade said it best. We don't go looking in people's backyards for anything. That is one of the reasons why people come to Poolesville. But it doesn't mean that we can't, that the code and our laws are going to be, if it's brought to our attention, that's something that we have to take care of.
Right. The arbitrariness is not the biggest issue for me. It's the misinformation, which
Understood.
I you can choose to believe me or not believe me. We were all just as surprised as you guys to hear that our neighbors were told the same thing we were, because we assumed that it was a one-time error,
Understood.
like a whoopsie, whatever. But
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
I
we-
feel like
we-
it's a pattern of behavior, and if you hadn't caught it yet, now you have. But it's just.
Well,
We accept that we didn't read the town code, which, I'm not sure how my parents could have understood that, English not being their first language and me being 12 at the time. But they tried to do their due diligence and they were misinformed, and now we're being penalized 10 years down the line. Which,
I really wish you would look at it, is that you've had the free use of your pool for the last 10 years without having to observe the code, because the code's been in existence the whole time. And I'm not sure who might have told you that you can not do the code or that, you're free and clear. And yes, we've had hundreds of employees work for the town. We've had probably 40 commissioners over the years. over a period of time. I can't sit there and tell you what one person said or didn't say, but I do know that, and it said Wade's been here the most of the time, and I've been here for almost 20 years, and we would never tell somebody, skip the code, don't worry about that, that's, you're fine. We just wouldn't say that. So somebody else may have, but, the code is the code. And again, I pledge to you that my guys are like rolling their eyes over there, but we're going to take a hard legal look at it and see if there's something else we can do.
Okay.
And we really appreciate you bringing it to your attention, the civility of you guys all trying to work it out. I know that it didn't, how this all got exposed wasn't great, but I get it.
All right. Thank you.
All right, guys, thank you. Appreciate the time. Anybody else, you guys still, you can, welcome to come up and give some testimony if you want, you two do. I'd love to have you up if you want to talk more about it. Okay. Thank,
What turned out to be a neighbor dispute has now affected 3 different families on Fletch.
I don't know how to tell you this in a better way, but this is how it happens. And it is neighbor disputes that end up bringing things to our attention. And I can't even say I'm sorry about it. It just is something, believe it or not, that's how we find out when things are going on, is when neighbors do go against neighbors, and we try to prevent that.
Right. And I would just add on to it that it's prudent on our part, once it's brought to our attention, then there's another level of responsibility that we have to take just as a town. And so I hate to see neighbors not being able to get along and have disputes. But then once that's brought to our attention, just like if you go out and you say, hey, look, you need to look at this, now you've brought something to our attention, then if someone's doing something they're not supposed to be doing, and you come and say, hey, this is what's going on, and then we say, oh, hey, this is what's going on, then we have a responsibility to act.
I understand that, but when this said neighbor comes onto your property and removes greenage, at that point, there's nothing the town can do about that. That is a neighbor dispute. And when we tried to resolve this issue, that's when all of a sudden our pools were an issue. So I'm just throwing that out there. I know
Yeah.
you all can do.
Right.
No, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry to hear that. You got to go along to get along with your neighbors too.
Okay. I think you have one more person.
Yeah, go ahead. Was there something else?
There's
Another person.
another resident.
Oh, I'm
who had
sorry.
a
Yeah, I was going
different-
to get to him. Yeah, that's good.
I don't have anything.
Nothing? You were thinking about getting a pool?
But a general question I have.
Sure.
I see that Poolesville has sent out the water quality things and water conservation and all such things.
Right.
With a growth and more number of families moving to Poolesville, and I heard somewhere in the news that there are 38 or 42 townhouses given a permit about some time back. With the growth so much going on, what is the town's plan about the water and the natural resource?
So funny you should ask that question today, and you can come up to the microphone if you want to, but if you look at the post that I made on Facebook today, it's like a two-tiered approach. One is that we definitely pay very, very close attention to our water resource, period. I would challenge you that there's no small town in Maryland that pays closer attention to their water resource, both from quality or quantity. That's one. The second is that if you look at our comprehensive plan, which it took 3 years for us to get it together. It's a thorough document. It really charts the direction of the town for the next 10 years. It's, I call it our growth Bible. And you can call it a slow growth Bible. It talks about how that resource is going to be managed, because it's the holy grail of management for the town, is to make sure that our water resource and our wastewater resources are managed like effectively and conservatively. So if you look at the two developments that are coming, and we're trying to talk about this, I'm trying to talk about this as much as I can to anybody that wants to listen. We are going to have two developments coming. There is going to be one that's right over here. We also know there's going to be townhouses that are going to be behind the CVS. They've been in the works for years. How long?
2014, I think, the townhouse.
I moved
Yeah.
in 20, at that time onwards, I was been hearing
Yeah.
32 houses, 38 houses, 42 houses.
Yeah.
5 years now, but never.
Well,
came out of
well, let's talk, and we could talk about that too, because we talk about this constantly, right? Because we know it's top of mind for our residents. Our residents, not only do they want slow growth, but once they get here, they don't want anybody else to come in. We get it, and it's good. We like it small too. And that we hear them loud and clear. But the key is that once these two developments come in, there are no other developments planned. And there is going to be a deficit of growth when those, to me, when those two developments come in. We're going to go through quite a gap period where we're not adding any town revenue through taxes. We're not going to be, there's no impact fees to be collected. It is going to be a very slow time period for us. And we're going to be knocking up against our cap that's in our comprehensive plan that talks about how much we can grow. I quote this stat for you, and the guys are like, "Come on, we thought we were going to get out of here early." I'll give you a stat. The houses on Fletchall, our Westerly and Westmont developments were built in the 70s, and we went from 300 residents to 3,000 residents in 1980. 300 to 3,000. We have not added 3,000 residents in the 44 years since then. It's extremely, I know you're serving this up on a platter for me, I get it. But that's an extremely slow growth curve, and it's barely maintained enough so that we can keep our resources managed well, and we can devote the money resources that we need to make sure that we're really being careful about how we're handling our water and our wastewater. So as time goes on, you're going to see those developments will get built, and I don't know when we're going to have another development after that. Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Following a couple of questions. For the
Sure.
wastewater, is there anything in the Poolesville to recycle the wastewater?
So the guys will talk about that a little bit and what we've been doing down there too. I mean,
No, as far as the wastewater goes, there's not a way to directly put it back into the drinking water system, maybe a reverse osmosis system, which has so much backwash, it wouldn't be worth the money, and we wouldn't be able to afford to even drink the water if we could. And plus, most people are kind of grossed out by the idea of drinking wastewater.
Yeah.
There are ways to treat it and then recharge it back into the ground. Maryland's not really up on that with the type of aquifer we have, because it's not
can you imagine?
sandy kind of, consolidated media. It's more of a just cracks and fractures, so you don't get the cleanliness that occurs in a different type of aquifer. So right now, that's not a really good opportunity for us to do
What
that.
they call it gray water.
That's right. I mean, that's a good question, and that Wade explained it. And what we're doing too, and I'll take it a little further. Again, look at my Facebook post today. You'll see it's on there, and it talks about our
Water usage.
water usage conservation. It also talks about what we're doing at our wastewater treatment plant in order to make sure that what we put back out from wastewater and rainwater and street water is filtered in a way that it makes our watershed healthier. So we spend a lot of money on that. And we're in the process of spending a lot of money on that right now to make sure that we're the best stewards of both what we pull out of the ground and what we put back in the ground as time goes on. Again, this is a pretty cool place. We're a petri dish right here. We are a place where we can manage effectively our drinking water and our wastewater. There are many municipalities that can't take on, that to the degree that we do, where we're watching it and monitoring it and also managing it. So, thanks. I keep going on, but there's nobody else signed up, so we're good. All right, thanks everybody. You're welcome to stick around for more of this if you want to. If not, it was great seeing everybody, and I promise we'll do that review with our attorney, just like I said. And thanks for coming, everybody. All right, approval of the minutes from our last meeting. Do we have enough people to do that here?
Sure, I motion that we approve the minutes from our last meeting.
I second.
Motion made, second by Sarah. All in favor? Aye. Abstain? 2 votes, nobody here. So it's 3-0. We pass those minutes. Next up, sorry, I'm not having my glasses on. I'm sitting there thinking about pools. New business, staff project reports, and this really is just going to blend into our town manager's report, I would assume, and then that'll be it unless we have more.
Sure. Yeah, actually, I have them separated, but
Okay.
I have projects separated.
there's a little
also. We have
line
Ongoing
across.
projects, working on projects, and upcoming projects, so.
Yep.
Niles and I are gonna volley back and forth here like a pickleball.
Right.
So talk about the water.
Back and forth.
There you go. So talk about the water tank. So it's all painted and everything. We begin filling it tomorrow, which was one of the reasons that prompted us to want to put this voluntary conservation in process. I had to come up with 500,000 gallons to fill this tank, and it's difficult enough when we have high usage And then, because of the million-gallon tank is 79-foot tall up at the Woods of Tama. Elevation-wise, sea level-wise, the 158 top of this one is the same. So we have to drop this one, but when that one drops up there, there's folks up there on the hill and houses, they're gonna lose pressure. So we have to drop it a little bit and then turn on the wells, shut the valves, put the wells, pump it back up, and do this for 3 or 4 days just to try to get it. So it's gonna be a little game we play. Typically, if well 2 was up, every time we'd empty it, we'd just use well 2, shut the valves, let well 2 fill it up. But we can't do that now because it's off for PFAS. So that was the thing to help prompt us to put the, the conservation notice out
And
also.
that was cool to see those numbers that you posted, that it worked.
It does work.
It does.
Yeah, we can see a noticeable, we talk every day about it, and it's a noticeable difference, and we'll probably see a drop-off in the conservation as time goes on, but then we'll just remind everybody.
But even last year as well, we had good responses when when we did the voluntary conservation last time, we saw significant uptake.
In fact, the numbers from June into early July were almost identical.
Yeah.
And Sundays.
And Sundays are always a high day at the wastewater plant as well as,
Yeah.
so we know it's, even during the winter months, we see that spike.
Do you guys give tours to the students at the school of the wastewater plant? You know, they go out and do these tours of like the incinerator and the,
Usually every year we do to the global ecology class and different stuff, yep.
okay,
And they
so
did it
high
this
school
year as well.
students.
Yes. We did the younger kids too a couple of
Yeah,
times.
yeah, but they did do something out there
I've never
this
been
year
there.
as well.
Still
Yeah.
haven't been there.
Yeah, she
I kept hearing like, wait till we finish this thing that we're building
It's-
out
And,
there.
and we're almost done
I'll
on that.
put in a
too.
request for Sarah to get on the tour.
I bought some new wellies. I'm ready.
There you go, all right.
Just don't look for a sample to taste. What else you got there?
I drank it at
Not
the
that
very,
up close.
I drank it at the very end when it was getting kicked out that one
Wait,
year.
you just gotta keep pushing, man. You gotta keep pushing.
I'm sorry, Ray. I'm sorry. We're getting off.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's gonna be a crane gonna be placed out here probably tomorrow, and they'll start moving the cell towers back over. There's gonna be a little bit of blocking of the logos, hopefully minimal. If you see it blocking one part of it, just move, and it won't be blocking that part of it anymore, okay? There's really not much we can do about it, but they are trying to minimize it and make it as good as they can.
I hear you. I'm just waiting to see.
I'm just warning everybody right now. We have contractual obligations, and they have, the placements are lined up with other antennas at other locations, and so it's all repeaters.
That's all
It's-
excuses.
All right, so I'll leave that one at that.
Okay, then.
Well, too. So once we get everybody off that site, we have the contractor ready to pour the pads in there. The manufacturer has the filtration units all prepped. They're on a skid, ready to be sent to us as soon as we give them the date. We're looking to mid to late August to have that delivered, media filled up, and hopefully put it online and get it back going. So
Awesome.
we're trying to move quick on it, as quick as possible. Also, last year, we wrote up grants and low-interest loan applications for MDE for that, and they released a placement letter. We placed 13 out of, it was like 80 or something projects for well 2, and 3 for enclosures to be built around it for $700,000. It's just open for public comment that time, so there's no commitment by MDE that the funds are going to be there, whether it be grant or low-interest loan or whatever. It's probably going to be a low-interest loan. I think we were on that schedule. So see what happens there. You want to talk about Tama sidewalks?
Yeah, so the sidewalks, I talked about this a little bit earlier, but currently we're fixing up the sidewalks in Tama 2 after Wade and I had done some review of that area, and John Strong had went in and marked it. They're trying to complete all of that. There's a few aprons that need to be, driveway aprons that need to be reconstructed as part of that. They're doing that this week, and that should be,
I thought I saw some people, them doing that. Okay.
yep, yeah, so it's all,
Go out on her this time, and he spent about an hour with her and going over the plan to make sure that it was, she understood exactly where it was, and he marked it out for him, and so it's still in her court. She had
ending what we were trying.
had this small window of opportunity to do them in the summertime, late summer sidewalks, so ticking. $80,000 through, the other 50's been by the end of this month.
Good.
Well, I don't think, mhm.
As well tree, we put it in the GAC unit, might have to go to a triple so that we can just take this one offline, keep the well pumping while we clean one out, and so you don't lose
Always have
all
2 or
those.
3 going.
Try to have 2 or 3 always going.
You're looking into creating a centralized filtration,
And it's not gonna be just one centralized, it'll probably be 2, maybe 3.
so like 5 or 6 per station,
2 or 3 per station,
2 or 3 per station. Okay. Wow.
so
That's complex.
Yeah, that is.
it is gonna be
complex.
very complex and very expensive.
Yeah.
and we have till
And
2029 to get it
the reasoning
done.
behind doing that.
So if we go ahead and put all these units at each one of these individual wells, which we can't do, let's take well 5, for example, it's a very small parcel, they got houses all around, there's no room to put it there. Well 8 behind the middle school is right in between two houses, there's no room in that well site to
Some
do
of
it.
these wells, you wouldn't be able to put the proper filtration system on,
Right.
so they need to be connected to a different one.
And they are maybe 6 per trillion, or 5.5 parts per trillion, where the EPA regulation is 4 parts per trillion. So it's just barely over,
Yeah.
but it's enough you have to put a treatment system in. And so if you can combine them, it's just going to be better in the long run.
Okay.
Less swapping out of the media, because every time you swap the media out, it's $20,000. So, yeah, just combining them in the long run is going to be better.
Okay.
So
Actually, you'll save money in the long run.
in the long run, you will.
Yeah.
And as other treatments or other contaminants are identified or need to be treated, it's going to have the same effect. You know,
Fewer
you got to treat
facilities
everything
to
at one
maintain
time.
and keep updated.
And we could potentially expand them depending on
Right.
what we needed to do, because they would be more centralized.
So we did a little bit of that with well 7, 9, and 10. We tied them all into one well house for the uranium treatment. They have big vessels in there. And actually, the uranium media is taking out the PFAS out of those wells also. It lasts kind of a long term. It may be better to use that media for the other wells also. And Kathy, Mem, and I have been having conversations about that, so.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Instead of the charcoal,
Yep,
uranium.
yep. Definitely an evolving conversation
Yeah.
in science in general. Commercial stormwater. So through the area we were talking about, the central, or the
Cultural arts.
Cultural Arts District, stormwater is an issue because there is none in place. And it all flows through Fisher Avenue down here by Norris, right by the post office, into the storm drain system there, which, under the surveys they're looking at right now, is very inadequate as far as anything being developed. So nothing, for something to be developed up on the corner of Wooten and Norris, let's say, they would have to fund something down on Fisher Avenue and tear the roads all up. So we're trying to get ahead of it right now and see if we can get some grant monies to fund it, and maybe be part of the streetscape thing, get that stormwater fixed, prior to the other stuff taking place. And that's going to help development of the Cultural Arts District in general, because it's just not going to happen unless that happens first. So that's been in the works for a while, but it's starting to take shape now at least. And then there needs to be a Fisher Avenue streetscape, which I talked to our folks, and they said that they're still waiting for the federal government to release the notice to proceed. I guess the Trone's office and everybody's switching up, and new personnel are coming in, and so everybody's looking at everything with a fine-tooth comb, and so nothing's been released yet. So we're still sitting there waiting. It's very
It's
frustrating.
not a possibility that it won't go through, right?
I asked that question, and they said no.
Okay.
But-
Good.
Yeah, I hope not. Upcoming projects we have this year. Go ahead, Niles.
Yep, so Dale Park regrading, redressing, this came back to a concern about the soccer field there and redressing it. Where we're looking at doing that is in the fall, so that it can be planted and seeded appropriately with the weather. We are also working with the permit holders for soccer and lacrosse that normally would take that field to kind of see if we can reconfigure some schedules. I had a conversation on Friday with Hope and Kathy about that, to kind of manage that part of it. But this will hopefully make it a smoother, better playing area once it's all done. We just have to get through this process of doing that. And then,
Yeah, Preston met with the contractor today to redo the Stevens Park pickleball courts. They'll be totally milled down, resurfaced, and then repainted, so there won't be any tennis courts there. It's going to be all pickleball. And we're also working with the seniors to find out what the best time it is for them. So the contractor is going to say, hopefully he can do it sooner. Maybe the seniors, it's going to be too hot. They were talking about October having tournaments or something. We can't wait too late because then the asphalt plant's closed. So it's trying to make everybody happy and make this all work out, so.
Okay.
and we've had conversations, both Preston and I have.
But some folks might just have to be a little upset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
But-
I say we just do it as soon as we can do it.
Yeah.
But the pickleballers themselves I've had conversations, and Preston has as well, where they are for this as a project. So it's just a matter of
best timing.
the timing and the scheduling and working with that. And so we've had preliminary conversations with them about that.
So hopefully, hot weather's great to lay asphalt, and maybe it's just too hot to play pickleball in August. So that's our, shooting for that window maybe, so we'll see.
Exactly. Go with that.
Wayland Commons Electric. So we've had this project in the books for a bit. I think we're going to try to put an RFP out probably in November, maybe December, and do it January. We don't want to mess up any more of Tara's events.
They're working on that right now.
I have to commend them for canceling the Wet, Wacky, Wild, whatever. That was the right play, and I think,
Yeah, I think so.
even though,
Especially with
Yeah.
the convert,
yeah,
holding off on the water usage.
yeah, that was absolutely the right play. And it would have been such bad form for us to be splashing water around while farmers are running out of water to water their plants, so
Yep, we had a good conversation about that.
that was good.
Yeah, definitely. So as far as Wayland Commons goes, when we first put it in, we put a 100-amp panel in, and we didn't expect that it was going to take off as well as it did out there. So with all the events we have out there in Poolesville Day, a lot of times we have electric tripping and different stuff. And so we put another 100-amp panel in over here, so we're going to be able to separate the park, have half the park on one panel, half on the other. So it's doubling up the electricity, so it's going to be good. Plus, it was direct bury wire, everything's going to be in conduit now, so much safer too. We're pounding pegs in the ground out there, kind of not knowing exactly where those buried wires are sometimes. Let's see, so now we'll go on to the manager's report.
Oh, we just wanted, you had questions about the flashers at Spurrier and West Willard?
Yeah, the only thing this is such a long range plan, but would there ever be any thought? I know that we've done all that we can do down at Spates Hill and Fisher, because it's not ours. I was there today. I've been trying to walk down that way as opposed to coming up this way. And you really do kind of take your life in your hands crossing that road there.
Yeah, people are
And
zooming out of town.
They are. That's they step on it kind of when they're going by my house, and they think the radar is going to slow them down on when they get past that, and then it's really on the gas
It's
pedal.
broken one way, and they know that.
The ones that know it know it. But I just don't know if there's anything else that is there no appeal that we can make to State Highway just to give us that one? Because I could think a flasher there would definitely make a big difference.
Well, the flasher won't happen because Maryland State
Yeah.
Department of Transportation does not accept it as an acceptable
Right.
signage.
A traffic calming device.
Yeah, yeah. Maryland does not.
How about this? Is there not not even a? I guess people get used to a flasher. I mean, I'm just trying to think of something.
The last time we did, we requested
Yeah.
an island in the middle and better markings, and they came back, and the exact answer was, and I can pull the report up, it said, there's not been enough pedestrian
Fatality.
car interface crashes at that
Yeah,
site.
yeah.
How many do you need?
Yes, exactly.
So prevention
I
is the
mean,
key, right?
Yeah.
The commissioners will sacrifice me, I know. A couple times.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm not going to sacrifice, but I watched a lady today go across it. She was about 100 yards in front of me, and she went running across the
You have
street
to,
with
yeah.
cars coming,
Yeah.
and she stumbled.
Yeah.
And I thought, and she caught herself before she hit the ground, but it slowed her down enough that, the car was whizzing, and, that guy had to almost slam on his brakes. I wish there was a way, and we couldn't do this, and there's a lot of wishing going on behind my seat tonight, but wish there was a way that we could just put the word out to our own residents. You're your own worst enemy. Just slow it down.
It's those two entry points, the entry point
Yeah.
into town that way, and then the.
Yeah, well,
entry
you know the
point
one
into
on that one,
109 is
right.
the one I struggle with too.
Yeah,
the
it's just-
same
Yeah, you know they're not going to the ferry now, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the man parks up there, which is good. He's listening, so the man parks up by on Elgin, but down here it's almost like the man doesn't hit down here because the speed camera is
Yeah.
there. So,
But one thing to mention is that we included all of these different issues in the comprehensive plan. So when we submitted to the State Highway didn't give us specific comments, but said, follow up with us. So I think it is worth trying to follow
Yeah,
up
and
with
you
that
have,
again.
to, that's right.
Yeah,
because once we do the one down on West Willard and Spurrier,
yeah.
we've hit the big ones. I mean, we've done it.
All our internal ones, but
Yeah.
that we can do.
Yeah. It's just, again, I eyeballed that one firsthand today. She went running across and she stumbled. And if she had not picked herself up, it would have been definitely tires, that guy's ABS would have been activated and it would have been
Yeah.
close. So, anyway, that's all. I just kind of want to keep reinforcing that. I don't know whatever kind of creative thinking. I mean, it took our creative thinking to get this part of Fisher Avenue done, but that was, God knows, I don't want to have to go through all that again. So that was crazy. All right, that's all. Thank you.
Can we have signage before people gets to that point? Like the more of the slow down, children crossing, type of signage that might just.
I think they did put some additional signs up, and they
did.
did lower the speed limit.
Yeah.
So this has been progression over time, but that's
Yeah.
what we've gotten out of it.
Yeah, lower the speed limit going out of town, remember, and stop the, no more passing, which everybody bitched about before, leaving from the wastewater treatment plant to the big curve, they eliminated the passing.
Yes, I noticed.
That would be a terrible place to have passing. That seems really dangerous.
Yes.
Oh, that probably
I've
ticked
gotten
off.
in an accident at that corner, because, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
not at the corner, but like coming out of
As you come
coming
Yeah,
on
as
our
you're
side.
out
going
of the curve.
around, like that last neighborhood.
I don't think there's anything that's ticked off our residents more for a short time period is when they took that
Really?
passing zone out
What
of
year
there.
was that?
For the year,
recent-
within recently.
long ago.
Yeah, recently.
Yeah. I noticed when they
Yeah.
repainted the lines, they didn't have the little,
They didn't add it, right?
yeah. And you got some folks who just drive on the yard. I got passed by.
They don't matter, that's a.
Yeah.
That's
Oh, no, it's,
Only thing that might get to that person is the sirens and the ticket.
yep.
Yeah, damn motorcyclists.
Yeah, no, this is a regular car. I mean, even today, I watched a car coming in toward Poolesville, past 3 cars on 28, jumped
Oh, yeah.
double yellow line, went down past 3 cars, then jumped back in.
Right.
Yeah, and you just hope that no one has a head-on collision.
Right.
He was in a hurry to get behind the next car.
Yeah, right? No,
Right.
both my accidents have been leaving town. One, a deer hit me, and one, a car was coming around when I was turning left.
That'll get you every time.
Yeah.
So like, it's those exit entry points into Poolesville.
Well, let's just keep it generally on our radar, but I do say, and it said, I've talked to the police many times, they are on edge up there on Elgin in the spot where the people are coming through, coming from 109, down 109 into town. And they can catch you at the top of that hill past Muldoon's farm. That's where they get people. And they've been pretty successful.
Yeah.
So I love the visibility of that spot right there. They're doing a pretty good job. Yeah, you right. You got you. Right. Well,
Really?
yeah. Sorry, man. Again, I just tell you, just like I tell everybody else, put it in my mailbox. I won't do anything with it. And it'll be $80 instead of $40. And just real quick on that too, just on the speed enforcement thing, they have. I know they're watching that intersection, and I think other people have actually complained about Jerusalem and pulling out and Elgin
Yeah.
on that one stretch or whatever it is, whatever the road is there at that point, Bellsville Road. But anyway, they've been paying attention to that, so maybe we can get them to switch their resources down here to talk about, try to get them in. If they, in fact, I will. I'll just tell them, go down there, take a strategic look at that area down there to see if there's a place that is a good spot where you can snag people. And maybe that's the best thing we'll be able to do, so,
Just rotate.
yeah. Because I think they've made a difference up on the other side, so. Okay.
I don't know, it's been too hot for me to go walk.
Yeah, early morning, that's it.
Okay, manager's report, interviews.
Yes, so we did 2 interviews with the for the water department opening last week. Those were very good, and we were very happy with the interviewees there. We have 1 more for that position tomorrow, and then we have 2 tomorrow for the Parks and Streets department. But I think we're pretty optimistic about we're going to end up with some pretty good candidates out of that, and we'll go forward in the next week or so after the interviews are done, evaluating where we are and what we're going to do next. But it's been pretty good so far.
Yeah, which was a good turnaround. I think they added health benefits that we did last year, and the salary increases. helped.
Great.
More competitive.
Way to go.
Attracting more
Oh,
candidates.
definitely.
Yep.
Well, anyway, we probably have to talk about it again coming up here too. I know it's not getting less competitive.
No,
We have to keep an eye on that.
nothing is. Yep. Let's see, we talked about the water notice that went out. Westerly water lines. So as part of the packages we submitted last year for low-interest loans and grants was for the westerly water line replacement at $2.8 million. We came in 17th ranked on that one. So that's something we'll be talking about in the future too. Like right now, it's just open for public comment, so there's no obligation from the state saying the money's yours and how it's going to be yours. But so this will be coming back up. This is something that, we had Butler Avenue and through Westerly Avenue, and that whole section over there is in pretty bad shape. A lot of outages we've had over the last couple of years. So that is the next section that, we recommend to tackle. So We'll be looking at that and see what they
Never
come
been-
up with the low interest loan. Last time it was 1.2% interest, so that'd be nice if it was that low. Yes, most free money, so.
Never been tackled? We haven't opened that up?
Nothing over
Just
there.
on spot basis?
Yep, and there's a lot of spots.
Yeah, no, you can tell.
Yeah. And then, staff, since last week, we started doing the closeout, and we hammered out a really good session today for about 9 hours. It's all in preparation for the audit coming up, so we have to get our books all squared away, and it's a learning curve for Maggie to some regards. She's taking over the books, so, but it's all good. We're looking in pretty good shape. Water and sewer is going to need a grant from the from the general fund, but the general fund's going to have some extra funds, it looks like, so we're looking good financially, so,
All right, that's always good to hear.
yes, yep. That's all I have. You have anything else?
Cybersecurity, we applied for a grant from the state to be part of their shared services officer grant. So this would be, the state would provide a cybersecurity expert for various municipalities to utilize their resources in doing an assessment of our cybersecurity capabilities and needs and threats, and so that we can develop a plan going forward. So I've had good conversations with the state on that, and so we probably should know in a month or so where we are there. Also related, we talked before about hazard mitigation and emergency response. The county is engaging us in a water security plan. So this is the first time the county is engaging us, the city of Rockville, and WSSC in a holistic way
Nice.
around water security and hazard mitigation. So at the end of July, I'm going to attend a meeting on that as well. So.
That's it. That's all I have.
Everybody, look at your calendars. Let's talk about August, if we have a moment. I'm just going to propose, and unless town hall's got, I know we still have our closeout, to do, which you guys are working on, but I'm going to propose that we meet on the 19th only for August. If everybody thinks they're going to be around, or they can handle that for now.
Yeah, I can do
Yeah.
that.
And Martin said 19th was good for him.
19th is good.
Okay.
Yep.
So, unless staff has a reason, though, we need to meet prior to? Okay. You'll share the closeout when we get done, so we can have it in our hands prior to.
It'll probably take us to the 19th to be able to have that in the presentation ready and everything, so, yeah, but we'll get it a week before then, yes.
Sticking with our same audit company, Wanda, et cetera?
Oh, yes.
Got it. Okay. Okay, I just wanted to make sure we covered that, that's all.
Okay.
Anything else, guys? I'm looking at my motioners.
Well, motion Martin's not here, so I'll step in his role.
Motion made by,
Motion to adjourn.
by motion substitute Ed?
Yeah.
Been made?
Motion.
Second.
Second by Sarah, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are officially adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
There it is.
No, I just.
Is it still not?
No.
Okay.